Welcome back to the Golden State with Mates post-game live after what was an incredibly tough watch. The Warriors going down 113-95 to the Cleveland Cavaliers at Chase Center on Monday night. What a start. It was a bright start to the game. The Warriors had 22 points in, I think, just over the first 6 minutes of the game. And then from there, their offense fell off a cliff, and it was pretty appropriate that Golden State would enter this game with the 26th ranked offense in the league through the month of December, and they well and truly lived up to that in this game. It was tough. It was tough, and it wasn't just that the Cavs defense was excellent, which it was, and they deserve credit, but the Warriors continually missed open look after open look, particularly from the start of the second quarter, where that second quarter, there certainly won't be too many highlights from that for either team. The Cavs won the quarter 20-11, took an 8-point lead into halftime, and then the start of that third quarter was just devastating from a Golden State perspective. TJD got an and-one layup to start, reduced the margin to 5, and then the Cavs went on a 20-2 run. They made 5 straight threes. Donovan Mitchell went berserk, and that was the ball game. The Warriors got back to within 15 to start the fourth quarter, but they could never recover following that third quarter destructive run from the Cavaliers, and they end up with an 18-point win. The visitors, who now move to 28-4 on the season. Very few positives to be taken away from this game from a Warrior perspective. I'm going to get through your comments because there's a heap here already from Ghost and Sai. I'll try and I'm not going to read this entire conversation because there's quite a lot here, but I'll get to some of the gist of it. Ghost says, I'm here early, but I'm going to say this now. I told you about Moody. He can be a good scorer for us off the bench. We just don't run any plays for him, but when he's in actions or being used as a second-side attacker, as you saw tonight, he can score if you give him the shots, just like JK. Even his off night, he's 19-10. What player on our team has off nights like that? Yeah, so Moses Moody ends up being the leading scorer for the Warriors in this game, 19 points, 7 of 8 shooting, 3 of 4 from three-point range, which was good to see given the injury issues that he's been going through over the past 8-9 games here. Obviously missed the game on Saturday against the Phoenix Suns. So good to see him hit some shots. A lot of it came in garbage time or at points where it just really didn't matter. So it probably has to be taken with some kind of grain of salt. I know Ghost is saying here, like, he can be a good scorer for us. I don't know. I agree with you. He can attack closeouts. He can knock down the three, obviously, but he's just never going to be a go-to guy offensively. I know this game, yes, he's the leading scorer for the Warriors, but that was more indicative of the game, I think, more so than Moses and other guys struggling more so than him having any kind of standout performance. Again, a lot of this stuff from him came late in the game. So I think he can still be like a 3-and-D rotation player for you, and ultimately he's clearly, I think, better than Lindy Waters III, who's still got another 14 and a half minutes in this game. And the Buddy Hield stuff right now is, I don't know. I just don't want to see Buddy Hield out in the court. Like, I wish we could start giving Buddy Hield DNPs the way he's been playing over this month, basically the entirety of December. I wish we could give Buddy Hield DNPs, but you kind of need his shooting out there, although his shooting is just non-existent at the moment. What did they say on the broadcast? He's like 2 of his last 25 or 5 of his last 28 or something, and then 2 of his last 20. He goes 1 of 8, 0 from 3. He missed 2 easy layups in the first quarter that you and I could have made. Like, it was appalling. His offense is a real struggle right now, and the defense sucks as well. So he sucks. There's no other way to put it. He sucks right now. Moses Moody played well and probably should be playing more than Buddy and Lindy Waters based on this game and perhaps based on recent form but perhaps based on upside as well. But I do think the Warriors would ideally have another 3-and-D type player who's probably a more consistent scoring option, a more consistent shot creator than what Moses Moody is or what Buddy Hield is. It's why the loss of DeAnthony Melton hurt so much. And yes, we've got Schroeder out of it now, but he was the perfect fit next to Steph. He was the guy that was going to be able to provide you that 15 to 20 points, potentially provide elite defense, be able to handle the ball a little bit and create off the dribble, which I just don't think Moses can. And when Buddy Hield does it, it's a complete nightmare, and Lindy Waters can't do it either. So I know there's a lot of issues on this roster. I think a lot of people look at a stretch big or just plainly getting a second superstar or a second all-star caliber player next to Steph. One of the underrated issues right now, I think, is the Warriors' need for another consistent 3-and-D wing on the roster, because Wiggins hasn't been great recently, and even beyond that, really like Moses again was good in this game, but I don't wholeheartedly trust him, and Buddy Hield and Lindy Waters. Like ideally, they just wouldn't be playing right now. It's as simple as that. Sai says, after this performance, I've personally come to a conclusion that the season is over. No trade can fix the defensive issues we've got unless we get Mike Brown as coach replacing Kerr. Interesting that you point at the defensive issues, because it's the offensive issues in this game. The Warriors shot 33.3% from the floor and 23.7% from three-point range. Draymond Green, Buddy Hield, and Lindy Waters combined to shoot 2 of 24. Like, if you've got three guys combined to shoot 2 of 24 in one game, you're going to have a rough time. Draymond goes 1 of 10. Hield, as I say, goes 1 of 8. Waters 0 of 6. And then beyond that as well, like Trayce, who I'll get into in a second, had a weird game, 6 of 14, Schroeder 4 of 11, Curry 4 of 14, Kuminga 4 of 15. Like everyone aside from Moses was a disaster offensively, really. Maybe there's a couple of positives I'll get into in a second. But interesting that you look at the defense. Go says, we only had a few bright spots. JK, even on an off night, is still better production than literally most of our team, which is crazy to say, but that's how good the kid is right now. And Moody was a number 2 scorer. Yeah, so Kuminga, funny game, because you look at it and you say, 4 of 15, not a good game. And it was certainly far more challenging for him than what he's seen over that back-to-back against the Clippers and the Suns, where he obviously had back-to-back career-high nights with 34. He goes, 4 of 15, but he does get to the free throw line 14 times again, goes 10 of 14. So he does finish with 18 points, 10 rebounds. I thought again, the shooting efficiency is not good, but I actually thought he was one of the better players. At the press conference to start here for Moses Moody. I apologize. We'll listen to what Moses has to say afterwards. But yeah, Kuminga, the fact that he got to the line 14 times against Evan Mobley and Jared Allen is a good result, I think, and continues to show his improvement over the past few games here. And that's a bad game for him. So he should be really, at the moment, he's minimum 15 a night right now. You could say minimum 18 a night, given how inefficient. Like he's not going to be that efficient inefficient moving forward, I should say. Like I think he's going to be a guy that shoots over 50% from the floor. So he's going to get his 15 to 20 looks every night, and I think he's going to be a pretty consistent 20-point scorer for the Warriors. But ultimately, it comes down to whether you win or lose games, and a performance like this obviously isn't an ideal one from a Golden State perspective. Just trying to read a few more comments here from Cyan Ghost. Sire says, we ain't got size to deal with the bigs in the Western Conference before we even think about the East. Well, obviously, Joel Embiid coming up on Thursday. The 76ers have won 10 of their last 13 games, so they've hit some form at the wrong time from a Warrior perspective, who have now got to face them, and they've obviously lost 13 of the last 17 themselves. Sire says, not a bleak for you, but this is just the reality of the situation we are facing. I do tend to agree this team is pretty quickly looking like a play-in tournament team at best, and they might have to fight just to get to that spot. There's obviously a lot of good teams. It's a very congested Western Conference. I like to retain some level of optimism and some level of glass half full, but it is difficult now when you're in such a rough patch like the Warriors have been throughout the past 17 games now, it must be said. Guy says TJD was hooping tonight too. I mean, he had 16 points and 16 rebounds. Not overly efficient, but he hustled his butt off. Can't complain. Okay, so worth talking about TJD because he had a really weird game. I certainly come away from it thinking he was one of the biggest positives. Like, as you said, he had 16 points, 16 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks, blocked Jared Allen on the first possession of the game. And I thought, okay, this is a good start. So I like his intensity. As Ghost just said there, he worked his butt off and the intensity was there and he played with force. And that's, the thing that was missing from TJD earlier in the season. So I'm glad that that's been back over the past 6 or so games here. And I think he's playing really well. In saying that, he continues to have absolutely no touch around the basket, and he legitimately padded his stats because of that. Like, he had 6 offensive rebounds, and almost all of them basically came from, I missed a layup I should have made. And therefore, he probably should have still had 20 and 10. So I think he played okay. But again, the finishing around the rim is just a nightmare. He cannot finish anything that's not a dunk. He cannot make a layup. He made a couple of M1 layups, cool, but I don't know. Like, it's a real issue. It's a real issue. This guy cannot capitalize on the reasonably open looks that he's getting. Yes, some of them contested by Mobley and Allen. Yes, I suppose their sheer presence is a factor, but my goodness, that was watching TJD try to make layups is pretty tough. And for a guy that lives in the paint, that should be his bread and butter. Like, he needs that to be his bread and butter because he doesn't extend beyond the paint. Like, he doesn't extend beyond the charge circle, basically. Like, he literally lives around the rim and he's missing these 2-foot shots that you and I could make. And it's like, what is going on here? So I don't know. I like to take the glass half full approach and say that he played with force and he played with intensity and he worked his backside off. But at some point, you got to start making these shots. And he's not alone either. Like, Draymond missed a bunch of easy shots. Kuminga probably missed a couple that he'd normally make. Buddy Hield again in that first quarter missed 2 of the most wide open easy layups you'll ever see. So yeah, he's not alone, and he's probably one of the better. He was certainly one of the better performances in this game, and one of the only positives from this game. But still, his finishing has got to get significantly better. Sai says, I thought we may be if we bring Vucevic or Cam Johnson, something could be done, but nah, this is done. I'm just going through. There's so many. I'm just going to go back to some more of the recent ones here from you guys. Thendex says TJD played well. Johnny says you need expiring contracts to make a trade. The Warriors do have expiring contracts. They've got Kevon Looney and Gary Payton II, who both, Payton's obviously out injured at the moment. Looney, again, a DNP in this game. That just tells me you've got $17.1 million there to go and utilize in a trade. At least $17.1 million. You've got Kyle Anderson making, 8.8 as well. Another DNP for him, although I just don't agree with it. Kyle Anderson should be playing. And then Buddy Hield, I'm not going to be complaining if he was off the team tomorrow. Let's put it that way. Like, you need to bring back another shooter as part of it, but my goodness, that is a disaster right now, and the Warriors quickly coming to the realization that a lot of rival fans warned about in terms of Buddy starting off red hot and then just cooling off into a pretty negative NBA player right now, must be said. Young West says Schroeder Curry, smallest starting backcourt in the league. I will give credit to Schroeder. Like, he works his backside off defensively. He drew a couple of offensive fouls, a couple of moving screens in the first half. But yeah, it's a problem. And I think ideally Schroeder wouldn't be starting next to Steph. You'd have another 3-and-D type like Melton alongside Steph, but it's just not the case, unfortunately. Daniel says he played well. I just wish he could finish around the rim sometimes. Oh my God, that's in relation to TJD, obviously. Thendex says, why is Slow-Mo and Loon not playing? Just trade them if you're not going to play them. I can see, I actually like them riding TJD, to be honest. Like, I think he's the future. I think he's a better player right now than Loon. He plays 28.5 minutes. I think that's good. My only issue is, like, Draymond, it just puts a lot of workload on Draymond if he's going to play significant minutes at the small ball 5. And I thought Draymond just really lacked energy in this game. He's not the same rim, like he can be. Like, pivotal moment, late in fourth quarters, Draymond Green, when he's locked in, can be can still be a helpful rim protector for you. As crazy as that sounds, as a 6'6" guy. But asking him to do it throughout a game consistently, I just don't think he has that anymore. And therefore, can you like TJD plays 28.5 minutes? Obviously, Post came out and played 5 minutes, so that's basically another 15 minutes of Draymond as a small ball 5. Can you keep doing it? I'm not sure. I don't think you can. So I think, I don't know. Looney probably does need to play some. It's just hard because you also want Kuminga playing bulk minutes. Yeah, they need another option. They need an offensive-minded big man. I keep saying it. Thendex says, this is why I said Draymond should be in trade talks. Hasn't been good over the past few games, but I think that would be overreactionary. I know we've spoken about it a little bit. Young West says, start Moody or Wiggins at SC at shooting guard so we can start JK. Yeah, I think it'd be worth going back to Steph, Wiggins, Kuminga, Draymond, TJD, or have TJD come off the bench and you bring someone like Vucevic in. I've been saying that. I'm just not going to get back into it because I've been saying it for almost like weeks now. Cornelis says, Buddy needs to be benched. He's trash. JK continues bad mid-range shots. The ref changed the game with that out-of-bounds call. Yeah, I mean, Kuminga took a couple of ill-advised shots today, but he's being aggressive. He had a couple of brilliant moves to the rim. That in and out that he went by Jared Allen in the second quarter was about the only highlight from a Golden State perspective. In terms of that out-of-bounds call, yeah, the refereeing, some of the refereeing in this game was deplorable. Like that call that they overturned on Kuminga where they said Mobley got him clean, which just, if you have eyes, you know that wasn't clean whatsoever. Like he got him on the arm. So the fact they called it a foul and then overturned it to a clean block was just mind boggling. And then the third quarter, TJD makes that and one layup. The ball on the other end goes out of bounds quite clearly, I think, off Jared Allen. And for some reason, they just give the Cavs the ball back. Like the Warriors in that situation, if they got the ball back, they've got an opportunity to get within 2 or 3 points at the start of the third quarter. Instead, it's Cavs ball. Mitchell makes a corner 3, and then the Cavs, that's the start of a 22 run, and the game's over. So, yes, I'm not saying that the refereeing was the difference in the game, but it wasn't good, and it ignited what was the devastating run of the game from a Cavs perspective. Johnny says, no team is going to trade for Draymond's contract in this new CBA. What fool will? It's not a bad contract, in fairness. Like what he's got a player option on the 4th year. He's making around $25 million. It's not a bad contract. Teams could trade for it. Whether they're going to want to take on Draymond and some of his antics is a different story. Sai says, look at our defensive rotations, man. We're running like headless chickens on a field. Horrific defensive principles. Offense will come some days. It won't the other days. Defense should be constant. Yeah, I agree with that. A lot of the times, and it's been a constant point throughout this season, is the amount of wide open looks that opposing teams are getting. And again, the Cavs, they go, what did they go in the end? 18 of 47, 38.3% from 3. And again, a lot of this is just the defense collapsing and kicking out to wide open shooters. And it's the NBA; it's a skilled league. Guys are going to make shots. Apparently, Warriors guys aren't going to make shots. No one could throw it in the river from a Golden State perspective if your name wasn't Moses Moody in this game. But the Cavs, they've got some guys. Every team's got shooters that will make you pay for overhelping and collapsing. So it is just is what it is really. Thandex says, to be fair, rest kind of ruined our momentum start of the third with those terrible calls. Yeah, just spoke about that. Cornelis says, Dennis should be coming off the bench. But who are you starting over him? Like, is it Moody? I'm not starting Moody based on this one game. It can't be Buddy Hield. It can't be Lindy Waters. It can't be Pollard, who was out injured. So who can it be? I don't think there is another option. Jamu says, for them not to be done, they need a massive overhaul. Vucevic plus another big wing. Possibly. I know we are bad. Authentic says, I know we're bad, but if Steph Wiggs and Buddy hit those shots, we win these games. Berserk Monk says, Buddy is cooked. If he can't work in this type of system, I don't know that he can work on another team. He's on a 4-year contract. I mean, it's actually, the swing here is remarkable. Like, start of the season, first 8 games, Buddy Hield had, was it 7? His first 7 games, he had 6 scores of 20 plus. And you thought this is going to be the best contract in the NBA. Like the Warriors have got him 4 years, less than $40 million. And now it's like, whoa, is any team actually going to trade to take on that contract now? Because he does look cooked. He looks like a genuinely a non-NBA player right now. It's got to swing at some point. It's got to swing. But my goodness, it's woeful right now. Cornelis says, TJD got to get tougher. He's too big to play so soft. I disagree. I said that at the start of the season. I agree with that comment at the start of the season, but I think the last 6 games he's playing with a toughness and a force that he needs to. So yes, he missed some shots. I think that's just a skill-based thing. Like I think he legit just can't finish around the rim. Sai says when Kuminga puts up 13, 14 shots, Warriors are 4 and 12. Sums up the season. Meaning the more we're leaning on Kuminga without Steph, but he's shooting. I don't know how much of a correlation. Well, obviously, you can make that correlation. That's factual. But I don't know. The Warriors have also had games where they've had to lean on Kuminga, and Kuminga's the only reason they won that game against Phoenix on Saturday was because of Kuminga. The only reason they won that game earlier in the month against the Rockets was because of Kuminga. So I don't know. It can work both ways, but you're stating facts there, so it's hard to argue. Thanik says we couldn't even capitalize on the Cavs' turnovers. They had how many turnovers for the night? 16, and the Warriors had 14. So that wasn't really an issue from a Golden State perspective. Jamu says no trading JK at this point, no future at all. Daniel says why not trade JK without Steph? We are a rebuilding team. He doesn't fit the team fully on the court, and he doesn't fit with Steph's timeline. I don't know. Like, I thought he played well in this game. Like, well, not well, obviously. He went 4 of 15 from the floor, but I thought he was not the worst. Got to the line 14 times again. I think, like, they're starting to get him and Steph a bit of chemistry there kind of thing. Like, that obviously worked well on Saturday against the Suns. I don't know. I don't think Kuminga's the issue right now. Now, if you can trade him and get an all-star in return, then fine. But I'm not sure you're just giving him away. And I'm not sure who that all-star is. Like the Heat have said, Jimmy Butler's not available. Are you trading Kuminga for Fox? Maybe. Power Up says our team simply doesn't make shots open or contested. I'm tired of hearing about fitting Steph timeline when Steph, as much as I love him, isn't even top 10 anymore. Yeah, he goes 4 of 14, 3 of 11, 11 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists. Not the issue with Steph now, like we saw on Christmas Day, he's still capable of electric performances that very few in the NBA can match. Like he can be on his day a top 5, top 10 player in the NBA. The issue is he's bad, and I've said this before, that his bad performances are really bad now. Like Steph in previous years, a bad performance, he still has 18, 20 points. Now his bad performance is like single digits or 11 points like he had in this game. So the gap between his best and his worst is just opening up. I still think he can get to his best. Like his best is still excellent, elite, but the gap between his best and his worst is just opening up way too much. Trav says the Warriors are done. Shai says if we don't trade JK, Steph mostly can play 2 more years to his full potential alongside a legit second scoring option, which we can't have since JK can't be KD in 2 seasons. Okay, but you're not trading Kuminga. So who are you trading Kuminga for? Because you're not trading him for KD or what other star is available right now? I don't know. Nani Okio says need new coach. Cornelius says no, they knock ball out of his hands too easily. That's in reference to TJD. Daniel says, this is true. We are rebuilding and trading JK for assets would be better than signing him to a contract that tanks his value. That's a good point. Like the fact you're going to have to, once you sign him to a big contract, that's it. You're committed to him. And you're not going to be able to get off that contract easily. Berserk says it's either getting Vooch or getting Cam Johnson. Warriors can only get one. The cheaper option is Vooch because he'd be getting for some seconds. Cam Johnson will be at least the first. Yeah, I mean, both players at this point would be handy. I don't know. You could get both if you're willing to include Wiggins. So I think getting both is unrealistic because they're just not going to change the team that much before the deadline. But we'll wait and see. Johnny says Suns had no center or booker that night. Ned said they don't want money past this season. Daniel, JK's playing well. I don't disagree with that at all. Sai says, come playoffs, we can't depend on Kuminga to be a reliable jump shooter, buddy to be a consistent 12-point per game scorer. Draymond looks gassed and only a third of the season has passed. Cornelius says, believe it or not, we miss Clay. I'll bring that up. That's something I've been thinking about. We actually miss. I'm just going to take a sip of zero sugar Coke. I do think we actually miss Clay a little bit, but the only reason we miss Clay is because of the season-ending injury to Melton. Like, I actually think Melton in this team would probably be better than Clay, and so if Melton doesn't get injured, we're not having this conversation. But the fact of the matter is, he did get injured, and therefore, yes, we are missing Klay Thompson. We are missing a guy who could be a 40%. Like, he's a steadier, as weird as this might sound, because he went 0 of 10 in the playing tournament. He's a steadier presence still than Buddy Hield is. Like, he just is. And so, yeah, we're missing Clay. We are missing Klay Thompson. But again, it's easy to say that now after Melton got injured, when I think if Melton hadn't have got injured, we wouldn't be saying that. Sean, JK, good young player right now to Steph. Thandek says Steph isn't even scoring the first quarter. Sean, we really don't need trades. I'd rather get a legit center. Yeah, well, we need to make a trade to get a legit center. Jamu says, what's the utility of trading JK? So trading for picks, we're not getting better with a JK trade. Trav says the Warriors need to make a move now. Johnny says JK is a trade piece. So there's a lot of Kuminga stuff going on at the moment about whether he's a trade candidate or not. I am, for what it's worth, my opinion is, like, I'm not opposed to trading him. Like, if they can find the right player, then absolutely, I'm more than happy for the franchise to trade Jonathan Kuminga. The only issue is it could really come back to bite you in the backside if you don't trade him for the right player, or you trade a player who has limited upside. Like Vucevic is a veteran, like he's not getting back to his all-star best. You're not trading Kuminga for Vucevic. Cam Johnson, you could argue Kuminga's a better player than Cam Johnson, or at least he will be in the next 12 to 18 months. I just don't think you're doing that. And so what other options are there? If you can trade for a star player, then fine. But which star player is that right now that's available? There is none. Okay. Pat Riley's come out and said that Jimmy Butler's not available. Now, could that change before the deadline? Yeah, maybe. But right now, that doesn't seem to be, a thing that's possible. And, LeBron's a pipe dream. That ain't happening. They just traded for Dorian Finney-Smith. De'Aaron Fox, maybe. But other than that, there's just no other star-level players in trade talks. And then, therefore, like, the only reason you trade Kuminga is because you're absolutely certain you're not wanting to pay him in free agency. And you just get off him for whatever value you can get. If it's Cam Johnson, Vucevic, whatever. Like, that's the only reason, is to make sure that you don't get stuck in having to pay him in restricted free agency. And you just take what you can now rather than letting him walk for nothing in free agency. So, I don't know. Cornell says Steph going to continue to look bad when the other team is guarding. When the other team's whole team is guarding him, he's still got to be better. But playing 1-on-5, need a shooter to unlock him. Sai says no legit centers in the trade market, mate. Not easy to get one unless we unravel some league gem like Heat often do. Vooch isn't a legit center. Offensive big could be a better name. He plays the center position. I know what you're trying to get at, because he's defensively he's atrocious, but he plays the center position. I think it's the best thing the Warriors could get right now. It's not ideal, but what else can they do? Power Up says a JK trade doesn't make sense. Dre was right. Any trade takes us to like the 5th seed max. Not worth it. Yeah, like where's it getting to? Like, again, I think if you're not trading Kuminga for a star player who you think can help you get to Western Conference Finals or whatever, then the only reason you trade him is because you're certain you don't want to pay him in the offseason, which is possible. Like there could be a trade before the deadline where the Warriors give up Kuminga for essentially a role player, and most of the fan base is going to be up in arms thinking, what the hell are you doing? When in reality, the truth might be that they just simply don't want to pay him. Trav says we just need an average center. I think TJD's been good. Like, he's an average center to me. You probably want above average, though. Especially, you need guys to capitalize on, again, the attention. That's why I think Vucevic would be good, because he is like a legit 40% three-point shooter this season, and he could legit be able to capitalize on the attention that Steph draws, right? And, be able to hit open shots. And not only that, but he has reasonable feel around the basket as well. Sai says, man, I would rather have Cam Thomas as a second option. That guy's a walking bucket. People call him a hog, but when the guy's getting 20 and 12 minutes against legit defenses. Nani Okio says, doesn't matter if we trade the coach, like small ball. Daniel, I like watching JK play. Like I said before, though, no one wants to pay fringe all-stars max money in the new CBA. Sai says, how did we lose Ty Jerome? We lost Ty Jerome because the Cavs offered him a 2-year deal that the Warriors couldn't match. He'd be handy right now as backup point guard. He'd be legit handy. Very efficient season. He had a very efficient season with the Warriors, to be fair. The Warriors did throw out a contract offer to him, an offer sheet, and they just couldn't match the 2-year deal that the Cavs, I think it was like 2 years, $6 million or something that the Cavs did. FW Clan says, bad as Vooch is defensively, at least he would give us a consistent 20 and 10. Yeah, at this point, like, you're just looking for offensive production. Like, and it showed again in this game, like, if Steph's having an off night, where are the points coming from? Kuminga can do it, but right now, like, Wiggins is in a rut. Kuminga inefficient night. Moody being the leading scorer, just, again, that tells you more about the team than I think it does Moody. So, like, at some point, you just need a guy that can give you offensive production, and Vucevic can do that. Sandex says, ex-Warriors player always cook us. Like, Ty wasn't playing like that when he was on the Warriors. I thought he was okay that season. Like, I thought as a two-way player, he had some moments for Golden State. Again, if you go back to the efficiency, he was quite an efficient player, didn't really turn the ball over that much, shot the ball pretty well. Certainly a player you'd like to still have around. Again, I don't think anyone's losing sleep over it, but still. Sai says we could have extended him. He played well for us and got rid of Moody as he's barely... Yeah, they would have had to make other moves to keep him around. Again, are you making all these other moves to make sure that you keep Ty Jerome? Not sure. FTW Clan, Trayce can't finish anything other than a wide open dunk / lob. That is correct. Kuminga only shines against non-rim protecting teams, says FTW Clan. I mean, he had 34 on Friday against the Clippers, and they've got Zubac, who's a pretty decent rim protector, who also had 5 blocks in that game. So I'm not sure that's exactly true. Cornelius says, send a first-round pick to the Nets and GP doing slow-mo on pods for Cam, Johnson, and Dennis can move to the bench. Will be a contender. Got to respect Cam's shot and cut to the bucket. Fair. Nani Yokio says, it's a team sport. Why must we depend on a single player? Where did strength in numbers go? Yeah, no, I agree with that. But the issue is, like, so many guys are playing bad at the moment. Like, it can't possibly be strength in numbers because Wiggins isn't playing well right now over the last few games. Neither's Draymond. Schroeder hasn't really acclimatized too well. Steph hasn't been himself. Buddy Hield is a disaster. Moses has been dealing with injuries. Lindy Waters just couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat. Looney's getting DNPs now. Kyle Anderson's getting DNPs for reasons we don't really understand. Gary Payton's injured. Like, who in the month of December can you say actually played well? Like, legit. Who can you say played well? Kuminga was good in these last few games and had his moments. Steph had his moments, of course. I think Trayce, his stock has risen over the past couple of weeks, so that's a positive. Wiggins has generally still shot the ball pretty well, but I don't know. Just everyone individually is playing poorly, really, and that's obviously impacting the final team result clearly. So players weren't drawn to Ty when he was on GSW. Cavs practically drawing up plays for him. Listen to their post game. FTW Clan, the one game he scored 30 plus with Curry was against Suns with no Nurkic. Well, Nurkic isn't a rim protector either, but yeah, I mean, he scored 34 and up before against Zubac. Simon says, we suck. Daniel says, do you think there's any way we could get Jimmy Butler without sending picks out? Wiggs is a very, very valuable player right now. Butler is old. Yeah, so you'd obviously have to be Wiggins included in the trade. Could you get a Butler without picks? Probably, if you're including Kuminga and Podziemski. Like, if it's Wiggins, Kuminga, Podziemski, GP2, those 4 players, and maybe a rotation player from Kevin Love or Josh Richardson coming back from the Heat or whatever it may be. Maybe you can get Jimmy Butler that way. It really comes down to, it's like what I said before about the Warriors and not wanting to pay Kuminga and therefore perhaps giving him up fairly cheaply before the deadline. It'll come down to whether the Heat really, really want to pay Jimmy Butler again in the offseason. And if they really don't want to do that, then perhaps they'll let him go for some value, even though it's going to be relatively small value compared to what he's worth. And they'll do that simply because they want to get some value rather than just seeing him walk for nothing in free agency. Daniel Hall says, is Jimmy worth 2 first rounders? It's dependent on... I saw a trade proposal, I think, last week or a few days ago around Christmas where it was like Podziemski, Kuminga, and 2 first-round picks. And I was like, whoa, like, here's a guy who's 35, injury concerns. He's going to be a free agent. It can be a free agent in the offseason. You're going to have to pay him $50+ million over the next 2 years or $50+ million per year on a multi-year deal to retain him. I'm not giving up Kuminga, Podziemski, and 2 first-round picks, right, for Jimmy Butler. I'm not doing that. Daniel says, I meant, is Wiggs worth 2 first rounders? Oh, okay. No. No. He was worth, you would have almost had to give up a first round pick in the offseason to get off his contract. He has rehabilitated his value. He has had a good season. I don't think you're getting 2 first round picks for him. Cornel says, I love Coach Kerr, but this thing when the other team go on a run, he just sits Steph. It's killing me. In my opinion, he putting more miles on Steph, have extended his to bring the team back. Possibly, Daniel says, if anything, I'd want picks back in that trade because we're sending out JK. Yeah, I don't think you'd be getting picks back from the Heat. But again, is it a trade? Is it Wiggins, Kuminga, Payton, Looney for I don't know, Jimmy Butler, Kevin Love, Josh Richardson? something like that. I don't know. There's a lot of hypotheticals here, but again, I'm just not going to talk about it too much because the latest we've heard is that Pat Riley's come out and said that he doesn't want to trade, or they're not trading Jimmy Butler, and he said that pretty clearly. Again, I think that could change, but until I hear reports that it has, then I think it's pointless to talk about a potential Jimmy Butler trade. I'm going to finish it up there. We've been going for over 35 minutes. Another really poor loss for the Warriors. Moody a positive, Trayce a positive and a negative, Kuminga a positive and a negative. Everyone else pretty much a negative. Quentin Post got his first NBA points. That's a positive that we can probably finish up on. Warriors again shot 33.3% from the floor and 23.7% from three-point range. Thank you to everyone for coming into the chat and commenting, or if you are watching on replay afterwards or listening via your podcast feed. Warriors played the 76ers on Thursday at Chase Center again. Philadelphia have won 10 of their last 13 games. So that's going to be another challenge for Golden State against Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, and Paul George. I'll be back. I won't be able to do a live stream after that game, I don't think, but I will be back for another podcast episode beforehand because the Warriors have got a couple of days off here. So be on the lookout for that. Otherwise, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel already, that'd be greatly appreciated. Follow me at POC252. That's POK252 on X/Twitter. We're also on Instagram and TikTok, Golden State with Mates as well. Happy New Year to everyone, and I'll see you in 2025.